Welcome to today's episode of Two Pigs in a Pod, a podcast for the people of Glazing by the people of Glazing. I'm George Lewis, editor at the People in Glazing Society, or more commonly known as Pigs, and I'm your host. Delighted to welcome on to Two Pigs in a Pod today, Stuart MacGregor. Welcome to the show, Stuart.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me, George. Appreciate it.
Really appreciate you coming on. So yeah, we'll jump straight into it as we always do with our first question of who are you and what do you do within our industry?
Okay, well, Stuart MacGregor. So I basically own and run MacGregor Recruitment, which is a fenestration specialist recruitment agency. In terms of my kind of day-to-day role, I obviously get involved with all aspects of the business, but a large part of what I do is building relationships, really. It's talking to people within the sector who are at a stage where they may be ready for their next career step and, looking for some assistance to kind of find the right opportunity. And sort of on the flip side, it's working with companies that have a requirement within their team as well, so it's kind of facilitating putting those two parties together, really.
Yeah, and when did you set it up? When did you start MacGregor Recruitment?
So I started the business in 2021, so we're coming up for 4 years now in the summer. So since then we're sort of year on year we're building what we're doing and sort of expanding. So we work with different parts of the industry, up and down the UK, really. So everything from systems houses to fabricators to distributors as well. So we've got kind of a real good and interesting mix of clients that we work with, from small family-owned businesses, through to the big players really in the industry.
Nice. And how did you get into it? Like, obviously, I'm sure MacGregor, you didn't start MacGregor Recruitment. You didn't start in this sector in 2021. You've been doing stuff before that. So, yeah, how did you get into this part of the sector in the first instance?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just take a little bit of a step back, just give a bit of a context of things. So I first sort of kind of got into recruitment in 1999. The same year my daughter was born. So every time I look at her, she represents how old I am in this industry. So I've been in recruitment for quite some time. With an agency, first sort of 5 years, which is lots of account management and contracts and stuff. Went into in-house in 2005. It's more of a HR sort of based, kind of setup, really, setting up direct attraction and being involved with the selection process. Did that for a couple of companies, but my breakthrough into glazing and fenestration was in 2016 when I joined Eurocell. So I had the opportunity to join Eurocell, who were a couple of years after they'd gone sort of listed on a stock exchange, and they basically wanted somebody in to sort of set up an in-house recruitment process, centralise it, do more direct resourcing, and kind of build that function. So I was lucky enough to get that, and it's absolutely fantastic. It was kind of a career-defining moment, really, because I absolutely loved it. And I couldn't have asked for a better company really to join in Eurocell, because you had been involved with the recycling side of it, the extrusion lines, right
Yeah,
through
they're a big
conservatory
player.
process.
You went in quite big.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and getting involved with BDMs and all the back office support, and there was just so much going on within that business. Really, it was absolutely. I just absolutely loved it. Really. So that was my entry to the sector.
And what made you decide? Obviously, I know circumstances are different for everyone, but what made you choose Eurocell in the first instance and the glazing sector? What was it that sort of drew you in to say, actually, I could, you see myself here and doing a job?
If I'm being honest, it wasn't specifically about the sector. It was the project, really. It was the projects that sort of coming in. They hadn't had anybody doing that before. Different departments had their own relationships with agencies, and doing it in different ways. And it was the projects of sort of coming in, kind of central and all of that, working with all the different departments, getting to understand the business, work with the hiring managers, and do that. So initially, if I'm being honest, that was kind of the interest point for me, really. So I was sort of on a fast-tracked learning curve, really, to sort of understand the industry, the players, the differences between different companies, different cultures. If we're hiring somebody from X company or Y company, what to look out for and everything. So it's more about that. But kind of once you get bitten by it, it's got a habit of sort of staying with you a bit, I think, really. So without giving you my whole life story, from there I went on to sort of Stevens Wood and Custom Made Group, and had a sort of slightly different experience, in a kind of similar field, doing it as well, and which was great. And then obviously joining, starting my own business, like you sort of say, we work with a number of different companies, different sizes and shapes, and there's just so much in it. To talk to people outside the sector, firstly they probably don't know what fenestration means or glazing, and probably never even considered it as a sector. And there's so much in it, that keeps it interesting for me.
Yeah, and you say that it's hard to, people outside of our industry might not know what fenestration glazing is. Does that make your job harder in a way that you're, recruit to get people from outside the sector to, potentially apply for a job and come into the industry?
I'd say when we're running MacGregor recruitment, that's probably not so much of an issue, because to be honest, again, it's normally when I'm sort of called in to partner with a business to sort of try and find somebody, it's because they've got a specific requirement where they want a particular skill set that
Yeah,
they're maybe not getting from their advert, or they've talked to their network and maybe had an interview or two and it's not really worked, and they've got a hole that needs filling, sort of, so to speak. So the focus very often is trying to find people that have been in the industry, know the products, know the systems, and maybe know the customer base as well. So kind of day to day, that's generally the challenge we get. And I think there's a conversation to be had, really, I think, within the industry, with regards to being a bit more receptive sometimes, to getting people with the right kind of, personality and,
yeah,
skill set, really, that can come in and be easily trained on the products and the systems,
yeah.
but that's a different conversation piece altogether, I think.
Yeah. And has recruiting into our sector, you've been in it for a fair while now, has it changed over the years that you've been in terms of sort of maybe, like you said, who we're approaching to who you're getting roles for, the roles that are coming up?
Yeah, I think there's probably a couple of things there, really. I think sort of post COVID bubble, I think we're in a different world now. Everyone sort of kind of agrees on that, I think, really. So, and how that's sort of manifesting itself from a recruitment point of view is, I think there's a bit more pressure on people. So if companies are recruiting people into the roles, they're expected to hit the ground running and expected to get results a bit quicker, I think. So to take an obvious example, to talk about BDMs and sales managers, etc. If a company's investing in bringing those teams into the business in a tight, kind of difficult market, it takes a certain special somebody, really, to sort of bring new customers in and get them to change suppliers, etc. as well. So I think there's definitely, I'm feeling more pressure, I think, within the industry for people to have that kind of immediate impact. And the second part of it, a bit more sort of more of a long-term kind of issue, really, is again, it's pretty widely acknowledged there's a bit of a skill shortage within the industry as well, and aging population, people retiring, some businesses, are closing their doors as well, and we're losing good experienced people in the industry as well. So, so again, there is definitely within the industry, I absolutely sort of echo other sort of conversations that have taken place about, more needs to be done about raising the profile of the industry, talking to school leavers, really. When I was at school, they're going around the milk rounds and, careers fairs. There was nobody there talking about glazing and fenestration.
No, absolutely
It
not.
didn't even enter my head, So, and I think there's definitely a piece there as well. And just to go off on a slight tangent with that, when I talked about Eurocell a minute ago, one of the projects that I was involved with there was putting an apprenticeship scheme in place as well. Okay. So we did it in a couple of departments, but one where I think it really worked well was within their conservatory roofing department. It's sort of traditionally been a high sort of staff turnover, difficult to recruit for kind of area, and we put a program in place, where we've got school leavers in proper assessment centre, people with the right kind of aptitude for it, and put them through, a full apprenticeship as well, and it worked really well. All the stats are there. They tend to sort of be more loyal. They tend to stay longer. You don't have the staff turnover. They grow with the business, and I think that's a real success story. So sometimes you need a quick fix. Other times it's good if you've got the capability to take a step back and think, right, medium to long term, what can we do to get fresh people into this?
Yeah, and are you seeing more that apprenticeship type role could work for other clients that you have? Do you sort of potentially broach that subject to others to say, this could actually help us in as an industry and as a whole to, not only get the talent in but to retain it?
I think it's something. I think it's a conversation piece that's gaining traction. There's I'm seeing more and more online, and there's more discussion points, and there's more things. There's apprenticeship providers out there that I think are becoming much more visible with it as well. So I think it's definitely developing some traction. I think really, if you talk to most business owners, they'd love that, to grow their own talent. It's like having that football team academy, isn't it? You want that sort of class of '91 sort of football academy coming through, don't you? For Man United, but I think the danger is it's short-termism, isn't it? If you're trying to stay afloat or you're trying to get ahead of your competitors, and your most important member of staff has just left for whatever reason, it's the panic button can get hit. That's the thing. So on the one hand, that's where I'm here to help with that. But I think kind of as an industry, I think there needs to be a bit more kind of long-term planning really for these things, and succession planning and so on. And that's certainly something that I think the industry could be doing more of.
Okay. And you mentioned about companies feeling the pressure to hire the right person. You said about BDMs and people like that. Do you feel that pressure then to get the right candidate in the first place?
Yeah, but that's what I love about the job, really. It's matching the right person with the right opportunity and the right culture. It sounds really daft, really, but that's what gives you the buzz about it. It's matching. Anyone can fling CVs around and hope one sticks, kind of thing. That's not what you do. So from MacGregor Recruitment, we take that seriously. When we're working for companies in particular, we have a meaningful selection process. When we're talking to candidates, we're talking about what they did, why they left, what they liked, what they didn't like, what they're looking for, all the stuff that's not on a CV, and to get under the bonnet a bit really with them. We also offer free personality profiling tests as well now for clients as well, to sort of give them a bit of an extra insight into the candidates when they're recruiting for them as well. So it's certainly something we take seriously, because I sort of touched on it before, but coming off the back of the post-COVID and being in a bit of a tight market, there's some good experienced people sort of coming onto the market as well. But sometimes it's really easy for a company just to kind of grab, great, they work for such and such, and they get them on board. But it might not really be the role long term that the candidate really wants, or the package might be less, and this sort of stuff as well. So it's kind of a short term win for both people, but long term, is it the right solution for them? So getting that kind of matching right, and getting into the nitty gritty with people, I think is absolutely vital.
Yeah, and would you say that is the biggest challenge of getting the right person for in the right role, or is there any other challenges that you face on a daily basis?
It's twofold really. So in terms of how we're approaching it, kind of the challenge really is basically sort of mapping out. So we've got a vacancy with a particular company in a particular locality. It's then sort of saying, right, this experienced person that we want, where might they have worked in the past, where's within this sort of commutable region. So you've kind of got like the long list search really of getting people, who could be of interest to it, and then it's sort of having those one-on-one conversations with people really, who's interested in having a conversation, who's not. You can have a list of people that could be suitable for the role, but it's all about timing really, and firstly, is the timing right for them to have the conversation, and to think about it. And then, like we sort of touched on really, actually, is this the right vehicle for your career? Is it the right culture? It's about, boss fit, company fit. All three have got to sort of be sort of interconnected and be right really for it to work.
And speaking of timing, are there any roles? We're talking, early in 2025. Like you said, it's been a tough year already for some, and previous to that, it's been a tough year for some company. But are there any sort of roles or skills or qualifications that you're seeing that are in high demand now?
Yeah, BDMs, as I've just sort of mentioned, good sort of door opening, boom boom, door opening sales managers. Are really valued as well. So that's something I've seen more of, I'd say, in the last year than in the previous three within the business, for sure. Sales order processors and estimators as well. I think there's been some movements on the packages recently, but I've always sort of felt that's been sort of like a really sort of undervalued sort of cog in the machine, really. Because if you're looking for somebody experienced for one of those roles, what are we looking for? We're looking for somebody that knows the products, knows all the jargon, knows the computer systems, is good with the customers, and somebody that's absolutely, bang on accurate, so as not to make sort of, errors, costing money in the production side of it as well, and it's a really critical role, really. They're talking to customers, they've got to have the nous to sort of check specifications and ask the right questions and so forth. So yes, processes perennially, I think, has sort of been a really sort of high demand, sought after sort of position, and they're not easy to find. So it can be, it's not necessarily the most highest paid role within the sector, but it can be a real challenge to find, somebody all singing and all dancing at the
Yeah,
right place
yeah,
at the
yeah.
right time.
Definitely. And do those roles sort of the roles that come up change throughout the year? Do you see sort of like, some in the summertime, maybe more, looking for more installers, or that sort of on the front line where, it's the weather's nice out and, more people are deciding to, I want a new window or a new door, when it's a bit nicer outside, or does it sort of, you have roles that are there throughout the year and, some
Yeah,
come and go?
I'd probably say it's flattening out a little bit. Actually, I'm sort of seeing more consistent demand all year round. So if you think of the traditional quiet period, so January, February, with the bad weather, etc. as well. Um, I'm sort of seeing more companies are actually using that time to get on, accelerate really their sort of recruitment plans for next year. The tail end of the previous year, November, December, January, to get people on board, serve the notice, and get them on board ready to kind of attack the year ahead really. So no, to be fair, I'm not seeing any kind of major sort of quiet zones or anything like that. It will be different for installers, and those people sort of out in the field, kind of at the coal face, as it were, but certainly for fabricators and suppliers and so forth as well. It's those quiet areas, kind of like opportunities, windows of opportunity, really.
Yeah,
From a
nice
recruitment
fun
point of
there.
view. I'll keep them coming.
And when you sort of touched on it earlier in terms of getting people from outside the sector in, do you get many applicants applying for it for obviously different roles? Do you get some? And if not, how do we do that?
Yeah. Well, yes is the short answer to the first question. If you place an advert on a job board or on Indeed or even on LinkedIn as well, generally speaking, you'll get a good level of applications. Hopefully, some of them will be, with the right skills, backgrounds, experience you're looking for. Some will have the right skills and experience, but maybe in a different sector, but could be an option to be a transferable kind of hire. But in all fairness, usually a large chunk of applications will be kind of irrelevant, really, in terms of sort of their backgrounds and skills and so on. So you kind of got to go through the processing of that. But to answer the wider point about encouraging more people into the industry as well. I sort of touched on before about the work with school leavers and apprenticeships and kind of bringing young people into the industry. I think the challenge, certainly from my experience, kind of as a recruiter within the industry, as we've touched on before, it's about companies sort of being open to that as well, and looking for people with sort of transferable skills that can join the team as well. Because sometimes the danger is, you can have vacancies that stay open for quite a period of time. So, what opportunities have you lost during that time? When you've not had it, but you could have had somebody up to speed, by then as well. So just as a piece of general advice, I think that's something we could do. But in terms of if I was to speak to a candidate looking to enter the market, from one industry to come into the glazing and fenestration sector, I'd firstly sort of say, look for job opportunities where it's not essential, it's not stated as essential for experience. It might be preferable or nice to have. In those cases, the door's open, potentially to them. And then, of course, the first touch point tends to be the CV as well. So it's about, making sure that CV sort of really highlights the skill sets that would be of interest to the person recruiting for the role.
And what skills are there? What skills would you see potentially someone that's not in our sector or have had sort of minimal touch with our sector? What's the thing that would stand out to you as a recruiter to go, oh, they could actually be a fit for said job?
Well, it depends on the job role, of course, But if we take a sale, I've been talking about sales order processes. If we take that as an example, what's the core skill set really? Really good IT skills, some kind of design where, any kind of CAD experience or anything like that. They're used to doing that kind of sort of design piece and working around the specifications and selecting the different, components as well. So people do that in other industries, so that would be quite common. They're talking to customers, so have they worked in a role where they've got that kind of customer engagement? They can pick up the phone and are quite comfortable, asking technical questions and so on. And the accuracy side of it, have they worked in a role where accuracy is important, and if you get it wrong, there's a consequence. So then when you're interviewing, you can then have that conversation, can't you, around what did you do, why was it important, what did you do to make sure you kept your errors down, what were the safety mechanisms within that as well. There's definitely sort of other industries and other kind of job roles where those little individual components will be part of it. So it's just having that thinking laterally, really, isn't it? And sort of thinking outside the box. About have they got the toolkit? And it's just learning the terminology and the products, really.
Yeah, well, it sometimes takes a while. I mean, even now, sometimes I'm like, what? So a new acronym pops up, and you're like, okay, what's that? It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, now, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
even if you've
Quick
been in the
Google.
industry years, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And how obviously important is how you personally sell the sector to potential applicants. How do you say that obviously they've seen it in the first instance, so they have that initial I like the look of it, but how do you say, yeah, this is you've come from the sector yourself, so you know what it's like? Is that sort of a benefit that you've actually been on the inside rather than just on the recruitment side? You've been at a company.
Yeah, I think so. Certainly, I feel that is a real benefit when I'm sort of doing the shortlisting. When I'm recruiting, for companies, because I've been in their role, and I've seen firsthand the difference a good hire and a bad hire can make within a company as well. It's not just a sales job where we're trying to get the job offer and ring the bell and away we go kind of thing. So I'm really aware of the value a great candidate, a great hire can make to a business. So I'd say that. But to answer your question about sort of selling the industry to candidates, just really encourage them to do it. Don't think white gold door to door salespeople, stuff like that. Those days are gone. They're in the 80s still. It's the most dynamic, interesting, innovative, industry, and the beauty of it, I think, really is there's something for everybody. You've got people from sort of technical people, technical specialists. You've got the design side of it, you've got the customer service side of it, you've got the sales side of it, trade counters and the relationships that they have with the people buying the products and having a coffee and going through the orders and all that sort of stuff. And the career path you can have. A lot of people within the industry that have reached senior positions, started off in junior positions and worked their way through. It's an all-encompassing, wide-ranging sector where talent can really shine, I think. So that would be my sort of sales pitch, I guess.
Yeah, nice. And lastly, we ask it quite often on and you've used probably a few words that you might use again now, but if you was to describe our industry in 3 words, how would you describe them?
I am going to repeat myself a little bit. Dynamic, responding to trends and markets and competitors and stuff like that, which leads into the second one, really, innovation. I think it's a really innovative sort of industry as well. Responding to legislation and different things as well. New products coming on. It's gives everybody a buzz, doesn't it, when these new things drop? And I'd say fun. I think it's a sector that doesn't take itself too seriously. Really, most people are just easy to get along with, unassuming kind of people. I just think it's a nice space to be, and you can make business relationships can turn into friendships, and you can have that kind of networking side of it as well. It's I just think it's a really nice space to be in.
Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously being with PiGs as well, we definitely champion that's the fun side. Is what we want. We want from our events and podcasts and things like that is to be to showcase the nice side of the industry, which there is a lot of people in the industry that are great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we're going to move on to our quick fire question round, Stuart. So
Cool.
as you've seen on previous episodes, we just give you some quick fire questions, and it's just the first thing that comes to your head. So there's nothing too heavy in there, but so we'll fire away with the first thing. Is, do you prefer talking over email or by phone? I bet this is difficult as a recruiter.
Yeah, I know. I'm probably going to say something you're not expecting. If I'm being honest, email. But I'm going to caveat with that. I'm going to say that to clients because when I was in house and agents would be ringing me constantly about stuff, it used to be really irritating. So again, I'm really aware of that. So actually, I've learned, or I prefer, I guess, to send an email, and then when the time's right, they'll pick it up and get back to me. So I tend to prefer that. But actually, that's a sort of a pragmatic thing. It's I prefer to speak to candidates as well. So those conversations is what it's all about.
Yeah. What's your favourite thing to do outside of work?
Dog walking. Is that a bit boring? Dog walking.
No,
I've got
that's
two
good. I like it.
spaniels. They need a lot of
Yeah.
walking.
Yeah. Nice. And it might lead on nicely to where's your favourite place to visit?
Well, Scotland. We're so I'm based between Nottingham and Derby at the moment. We're seriously considering moving to Scotland. So currently exploring Argyll at the moment. So
Nice.
yeah, I've got the name but not the accent. So I'm not sure how that's going to work.
What's your go-to meal if you could choose anything to have? What would it be?
Indian, all day long. I could eat it every day.
When do you feel? What time of day do you feel most in the zone? Are you sort of a morning person, get things done early, or are you sort of late at night working?
Yeah, 7 till 12. I'm definitely a morning person, really. Yeah, and again, that might be an age thing. Like the siesta time, would be ideal. But yeah, no, I generally sort of tend to lose a bit of steam 3 o'clock onwards. But so yeah, the key areas, yeah, 7 till 12.
Yeah, I feel you. I'm exactly the same. What do you see yourself doing, both personally and for the business in 5 years' time? Where do you see it sort of doing the same thing, sort of venturing out to new parts of recruitment or in the industry?
Well, with regards to the agencies, it's about growth, really. It's a small setup at the moment. It's kind of it's a family affair at the minute, really. I sort of lead things. I've got my son works for me in terms of candidate resourcing and initial outreach, and I've got another part timer that supports as well. So the time's right, I think, really now to sort of start to sort of grow the business and bring on other consultants. So over the next year or two, that's really what I want to get to, and consolidate my clients and sort of grow the business into different work with different companies, and have more capacity, really. Fundamentally that's what it is. It's have more capacity to be able to work with more people simultaneously and deliver the best quality service we can.
Nice. Perfect. Well, thanks very much, Stuart. So yeah, for our final part of the podcast, we like to give our guests the chance to shout out people. It can be, people in the industry or people from family, friends, whoever it may be. So yeah, who's your shout out for?
Well, I'm going to give two people I've worked with before. So Rosemary Sutton, who was my old manager at Randstad, my first job in recruitment. I was in retail management at the time, and she took a chance on me and brought me into the world of recruitment, which was a life and career changing kind of move. And similarly, I talked about Eurocell earlier. Glenn Parkinson, the old HR director that I worked for at Eurocell as well. So he trusted me to bring me in and set up that recruitment function as well. So big high fives to both of those guys.
Nice, perfect. Well, yeah, thanks very much, Stuart, for joining us on Two Pigs in the Pod today. It was really interesting to hear, about your life in the industry. It's quite a sort of specific part of the glazing sector. So yeah, hearing about you and the recruitment side is definitely was a good episode, I think.
Yeah, appreciate the invite. It's been great to chat. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, that's it for today. So you can hear Stuart's episode and all others on our YouTube channel at People in Glazing Society, to download on Spotify, Amazon Music and Apple Podcasts, and on our website, www.peopleinglazing.co.uk. And whilst you're there, you can also find out when the next PiGs networking event is, read the latest people news from the sector, plus lots more. So thanks again to Stuart for joining us, and see you again soon.